Okay, everybody, make sure you have your calculator. You're going to need your calculator for this. This is everything on the calculator. So we're going to talk about graphing. We're going to find points of intersection. So what we did in 3.1 is we had two linear lines, right? So we had something that looked like this, and we said we were looking for this point of intersection. Now we're going to look at some more complicated functions, and we're going to put those on the calculator, and we're going to let the calculator help us. So let's do a little exploratory work here first. So we're going to have your calculator. You're going to turn it on, and then you're going to hit this button y equals up here. And this, I'm following along with the directions, so you can do this on your own later. But when we turn it on, we're going to go up here to y equals. And here's some helpful hints. So when we're using the variable x, we're using this button right here. So there's an x, a t, a theta, and an n. And this they all mean different things, but when we're just in a linear mode, we're going to use this X button. A couple of other things is this is our subtraction button, and this is our negative button. So it's really important when we have a negative variable, we use this one, and then subtraction, we use this one. Okay? All right, so here's what we're going to do. We have y equals right here, and we want to type this in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use negative, which is down here, negative x. And now I want to get to this third power. And to get to the third power, I'm going to hit this caret button, the one that's right here above division, and that puts my cursor up there in the sky, and I'm going to put a 3. Now, it's going to stay up there until I tell it to come out. So I need to just arrow out one time, and then it brings it back down. So I'm at normal level now. I'll type in the rest of this. So it's the subtraction here. So minus 3x, I'm going to use my squared button, that's right here, plus 2x minus 5. So I have this function in my calculator right here. It looks like this. Now I'm going to hit graph. Oh, I don't want you to see that yet. Hold on. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to change I have this set for something special. So here we go. So I'm going to graph this, and this is probably what your graph looks like. So when we're in standard mode, it's a 10 by 10 grid. So negative 10, positive 10, positive 10, negative 10. So this is a 10 by 10. So when you just graph it, this is what it's going to look like. The problem is I can't see what's happening here at the bottom of my graph. Okay? And so if your graph doesn't look like this, what you can do is you hit the zoom button right here, and then number 6 is standard. So if I hit number 6, that's what brings up this graph right here. But if I want to know what's going on the bottom, I'm going to go in and I'm going to customize this a little bit. So this direction that I need to go down here to see the bottom of my graph is my negative y. So this is when my y is a minimum. So if I hit window, I see this x min, which is my far left side, x max is my right. So if I look at this on my graph, so this would be my x min value, and this would be my x max value, and this would be my y max value, and this is my y minimum value. So my y minimum is not minimum enough. So I'm going to make this lower. And what you see here on our notes is this window that we want to change it to, and we're going to change it to negative 5, 5. So what this means is my min becomes negative 5, and remember, use the negative, not the subtraction, negative 5. My max is 5. This is a scale, which means we want to do every value. So negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2. So this just says scale by 1. And then my y min, I'm going to make negative 12, and my y max 3. And then I hit this graph button again. And it's better. I still don't see the bottom of this, but it's better. So go ahead and flip this tutorial over. And what it says is, how can we change the window to make it even better? So how can I make this so that I can even see more of this graph? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into window, and I'm going to make it even lower, and I'm going to say negative, I don't know, negative 18, and then hit graph again. And that looks really good. Okay, so it says make necessary arrangements so that these look alike. So what I did is I said x was negative 5, 5. I didn't change that. And my y value was negative 18, 3, I think. Yeah, negative 18, 3. Okay. So now we're going to try a new equation. So it says go back into y equals, and we're going to enter a new equation under y1. So I am going to just hit this clear button and get rid of all that garbage that's there right now. Now, we know how to do a fraction. Remember, fraction is alpha link. That gives me my fraction. So I have 2 over 5, and then I have x squared minus 4x minus 7. Okay? So I've got all of this in. Tells you how to do a fraction. If you've got the old version of the calculator, you have to do y equals to get a fraction, if you remember this. Otherwise, you can do alpha link. And then we want to look at that, so I'm going to do zoom standard. Oh, hold on, let me get out of that. Zoom 6, and here's my graph. So what it looks like is a parabola. It looks like it goes down, and then I lose it, and then I see a little bit here. So I want to adjust the window. So what number 10 says here is go in and adjust the window so that we can see everything that they want. So what I know is I need to be lower in my y min, and my x max need to change. So I'm going to go into window, and I'm going to say maybe -7 to 25, and my y min, I'm going to say -20, and my y max is 3. I'm just randomly picking numbers. So let's look at this. That looks pretty good. I can see what's happening. This is way too big on this side, so I'm going to adjust it just a little bit. I want to see a little bit more on the top and a little less in the y max, or sorry, in the x max. So I go back into window, x max, I'm just going to make that 20, and I'm going to make my y max 5 now. So I'm going to write these down. So -7, my x max is 20, my y min is -25, and my y max is 5. That looks pretty good. I can pretty much see what's happening. All right, so let's do another one. So this one says we're going to go back into y equals. So back into y equals. I want to clear this function, and I want to type in a new one. So I'm going to say 4x. Remember, to get up to the 5th, I use the caret button. I have to arrow out. So minus x caret 4, arrow out, minus x caret 3, arrow out, minus x, now I can use the squared button, minus 2x plus 7. To have the whole thing typed in. And now what I want to do is I want to do zoom standard, and here's my graph. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. Probably don't need to go so low here, and probably not as wide. I'm going to see if I can adjust this just to make it look a little bit better. So I'm going to say we're going to go from -5 to 5. Oops. And this time I want my y max to be a little higher, so I'm going to say 15. And I think that looks a lot better. I can kind of see what's going on. So my graph looks more like this, right? So here's my x-axis. Here's my x and my y-axis are right here. I'm going to put my window. And as you see on this, there is no right or wrong. It's just going to be what values give you a good picture of your window. All right, so you might have kept it at the first one. The first one didn't look bad. I just think this one looks better. All right. Okay, so now let's see how we can use this. So here I'm going to have two different functions now. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into y equals, and I'm going to clear everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find two graphs here. So I'm going to have my first graph be x squared. So just x squared. And my second graph, this now becomes my y2. This one was my y1. Oops, sorry about that. And this is my y2. So I'm going to say 0.5x plus 2. So if you've got a color screen, you'll see that my first graph is going to graph in blue, and my second graph is going to graph in red. And so I'm going to go in and do zoom standard, and that's my graph. Now, if you remember, when we're dealing with a system of equation, we want to find the intersection points. So we want to find these two intersection points. So if we look back at our graph, what we end up with is this, this graph, which is it's the same as what I have. I can just see the color version. So now I want to know, what is this intersection point right here? And so I'm not going to use this cursor. This cursor is going to tell me things, but I want to actually know where that exact value is. So I am going to actually do a little bit of work here. And so let me make sure. I'm going to do second trace. And second trace gives me calc. And what I want to do is I want to find the intersection point. And this is number 5. Oh, here's the directions right up here. So I'm going to do second trace, which gives me calc right here, and then number 5, which is the intersection point. Now, here's the tricky part. I have 2 intersections. I have one here, and I have one here. So I have to arrow over by the intersection. I just have to be close. And it tells you right here, you're going to hit enter, and it's going to say first curve, and I'm like, okay, yeah. Second curve, that's the red one, yes. Third curve, we're going to make a guess. I don't care about a guess, just give me the answer. And when I do this, it tells me the intersection point. So here it is. So the point of intersection is going to be negative 1.186. This is my x value. And then my y value is going to be 1.407. So 3 places and 3 places. So if you see, my intersection points down here are the same points that I have on my calculator. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to find the intersection of this other point right here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do second trace. I'm going to go down here to intersect. This time I'm going to arrow over. I'm just using my arrow button until I get super close to that point. It says first curve, yes, I'm close. Second curve, I'm close. Third curve, I don't want to guess. So here's my my second intersection point. It happens at 1.686 and 2.843. So this is my second point. This is my point number 2. Okay. So I can find other things from the calculator that I have here, and that's what this is. So I can find the zeros. And if you remember, the zeros on the graph is where it crosses the x-axis. So let's do this. Zeros and x-intercepts. So a 0 is where it crosses, doesn't actually have to cross, it has to hit the x-axis. And we also call our zeros x-intercepts. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in and we're going to go to y equals and we're going to clear everything. So I'm going to clear this graph and I'm going to clear this graph. And it tells us right here we want to find the zeros on this graph. So first I have to tell my calculator. So it's going to be x squared minus 3x minus 5. So here's my equation. I'm going to go ahead and graph that. And that's what I have. So if I look at this on my calculator, it is not at negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a little bit more than 4. So I can't just say negative 1 and 4 because I can tell it's not negative 1 and 4. It's close, super close, but it's not there. So I'm going to go into the calc functions on my graph, so second trace again, and it tells you right here, second trace, and then we're going to find the zeros, which is number 2. Now, this can be tricky. So watch my graph here so you see how this works. So the first thing that it's doing is it's asking for the left bound. The left bound means I'm going to find a point up here. This is going to be like my left bound. It's going to be to the left of my 0. This point right here is the 0. So I'm going to arrow over and I'm going to be to the left of the 0. So for this one, it means I'm going to be above the x-axis. And I'm going to hit enter. Now, if you have a newer calculator, you're going to see that I now have this little dotted line right here. Can't really see it on the video, but if you have it on your computer, you can see there's this little dotted line. So now, the next thing it asks me is right bound. Well, if this was my left bound, I want to go to the right. This is going to be my right bound of that point. So I'm going to arrow over. Now, I'm below the x-axis now. So when I hit enter for right bound, you can see that it's saying, okay, find the 0 that is between these 2 dotted lines. And so I don't care about guessing. I hit enter, and what I find is that the 0 happens at negative 1.192. Negative 1.192 or negative 1.193. And so that is this 0. right? So, like I said, it's definitely close to -1, but it's not -1, all right? So the next thing that we want to do is we want to find the other 0. Let's see where yeah. So follow the directions to find the other 0. Well, I have another 0 over here. So I'm going to do second trace. I want to find the 0. Now, this is tricky because now when I find the left bound, I want to go to the left of that 0. Well, this left bound is now below. So find a point below or to the left of my point. So that's my left bound. That's my right bound. So what it's saying is the 0 is going to happen somewhere in between these two. And it tells me that my 0 happens at 4.193. That's where my 0 is. That's my x value and my y value 0. Now, my calculator says 1e to the -12. Now, what this means is 1.0 times 10 to the -12. So 1.0 times 10 to the -12. If you remember back into your chemistry days, what this means is I have 12 leading zeros. So I'm going to move, well, actually 11, because I'm going to move this one place. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Technically, this is 0. So if your calculator defaults to something like this in scientific notation, this is just 0. I mean, look how many zeros you have there. So that's definitely 0. Okay. I am going to I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to let you find these points of intersection and these zeros. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to work on, I'll give you the answers, and then we're going to come back and we're going to work on a system of equations. So go ahead and pause it and try all of you might have to look back in the calculator steps right now to figure these out. Okay, I just did the first problem. And so with the first problem, I have this blue curve, which is my cubic curve, and then I have this line. And what we see here is we have 3 points of intersection. So I have my 3 points written here. So go ahead and pause your video, check that. And I'm going to go ahead and clear my calculator now, and I'm going to do number 2, where I find the zeros of the function. Okay, so for this cubic, this is what it looks like. And I have 1, 0, and that 0 is where it crosses the x-axis, not the y-axis. It's where it crosses the x-axis. So this is the value I have where it crosses the x-axis, -0.427. All right. Okay, one more. I want you to go ahead and pause it, do the next one on your own as well. All right, so here's the last one. So if you just did a normal Zoom standard, you aren't going to see everything on the graph. So you have to go in and change your window. So here's the window settings that I have. Here's my parabola and my line. And I have 2 intersection points, and these are the 2 intersection points that I have. Okay, go ahead and pause it if you didn't get these and go in and see if you can figure out why. Okay, all right, so now let's get into why we actually did all of this. Why we actually did all of this is because we want to solve a system on the calculator. Now, what you notice here is I now have XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. So this system is a lot more complicated than what we were doing with substitution and elimination. So we are going to do these in terms of finding a matrix. And so this is such a common thing that we have our own button on the calculator that's a matrix. It's right here. It's under this inverse button. So to get to it, you're going to do second x inverse, and it brings up this this screen that looks like this is a matrix. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to tell it in a matrix, we're going to create rows and columns. So this has 3 rows. So here I have 3 rows. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns because I count what's on the other side of the equal sign. So what this is this just takes this equation that I have here, 2x plus 2y minus 3z equals 12. And then I do it with the second row and I do it with the third row, and it kind of just breaks it down. So this matrix is considered a 3 by 4. This one is my row and this one is my column. So when we're here in our matrix, we're going to go in and we're going to put in our values. And to do that, you're going to arrow over to edit. You can pick any matrix. I'm just going to pick the first one, which is A. And I want to tell it I'm creating a matrix that's a 3 by 4. And when I do that, it populates this matrix with all of these spots that we're going to fill in. Now, as we do this, we're going to take the coefficient on each one of these terms. So if this first one is an x, we're going to put a 2. And then we're going to put another 2. And then we're going to put a negative 3. And we're going to put a 12. And it defaults to the next row, and it's a 1, negative 3, 2, positive 3. And we go to the last row, 3, 4, negative 4, and 16. Okay, so there's my matrix. All we did is we took out the variables. So it looks just like this. Okay, so if we keep following along, oh, here it is right here, right? If we keep following along, and all of this is written in here, so you can follow this later when you're doing your homework. But now we want to tell this matrix to run. So to do this, we get back into the matrix functions. So we're going to quit out of this. Oops. So from a blank screen, I'm going to go back into matrix. It's the second inverse. And this time we're going to do some math. If you noticed a minute ago, under matrix A, there wasn't anything there. And now it says there's a 3 by 4. And that's the matrix that we just put there. So I'm going to go over to math. And it tells you here, we are going to run RREF. It stands for row reducing echelon. Doesn't really matter what it means. You don't really need that. You just make sure you use the one that's RREF. So if you arrow down, you're going to see ref, and then you're going to see RREF. And the one that we want is RREF. So you're going to hit enter. So now it tells us RREF, but it's telling us which matrix do we want to use. So we have to go back and have to tell it matrix A, because that's where I put it. So I'm going to go back to second inverse. And this time, it's A is the one I want, so I'm just going to hit enter. And now it looks exactly like it did on your paper here. So now when I run this, and I just hit enter again, this is what happens. So all of those values that I plugged in, they now look like this. So what this is saying is we put x in first. So x equals 4. Y equals negative 1. Z equals negative 2. So my answer here is 4, negative 1, negative 2. My answers are in this column. Okay, let's try one more. So let's try this one. So we already have a 3 by 4 set up. So I'm going to go back into my matrix. I have to go back over to edit. I'm going to do this first one, which is a 3 by 4. And I'm going to change my values. So it's now 5, 3, okay, now make sure on that bottom row you're using negative numbers and not subtraction. So once you have everything in, you're going to second mode out. So you're going to quit out back to a blank screen. Okay, now I'm going to go back into matrix. I'm going to go over to math. I'm going to go to RREF. I'm going to tell it to run matrix A, so I have to go back into matrix. Hit enter one more time. So my x value is 0, my y value is 6, and my z value is negative 5. Okay. Now we can actually even do this one. So let's go back into our matrix. And this time I'm going to go down to matrix B, and I'm going to hit enter. Oh, no, I'm not. Sorry, let me go back in here. I'm going to go over to edit, and I'm going to go down to matrix B. And this time, I want to run a 2 by 3. So 2 rows this time. So I put my values in. So I have all my values. I'm going to quit out. I'm going to go back into matrix. I'm going to go over to math. I'm going to pick RREF. I'm going to go back into matrix. And this time, I want to run matrix B. That's my 2 by 3. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to hit B. And hit B one more time. And this tells me that my answers here are going to be 0 and 3. Okay? I think you have some calculator stuff to practice, and then we're going to do more of this in class.